Let's take a look at the 12 labors of Hercules. First off, we have slaying of the Nemean lion, a beast with impenetrable skin. No knife could cut it, no arrow could pierce it. However, just because the skin was impenetrable didn't mean Hercules couldn't kill it. So, either with blunt force and eventual strangulation, Hercules was able to beat the beast. He used the lion's own claws to be able to skin it, and then wear its hide as part of his own armor. Next up, we have the slaying of the Lernean Hydra. This was a serpentine creature that lived in swamps and had multiple heads. However, every time Hercules tried to cut off one of its heads, 2 more would grow back in its place. With the help of his nephew Augeus, they were able to prevent the beast from regenerating its heads. Every time Hercules would cut off one head, they would cauterize the wound. This second labor was especially difficult to deal with because Hera had sent a giant crab to distract Hercules while he was battling the Hydra, but Hercules easily crushed it with his foot. Heracles needed to report to King Eurystheus, who was the one who set the labors in motion. The third labor was the capturing of the Ceryneian Hind, a sacred deer to the goddess Artemis. It was so powerful and fast that it was nearly impossible to capture. Heracles spent the better part of the year just trying to find the deer itself, until finally he caught up to it and shot it with a bow on one of the legs. Furious that her sacred deer was shot, Artemis demanded to know why Heracles did such a thing. He explained himself and promised to release the deer once he proved that he captured it. For the fourth labor, Heracles needed to scour the wilderness once more and try and capture the Erymanthian boar, a fearsome boar that could destroy anything. So Heracles proved his intelligence by simply stalking the beast way up north into the snow until the Erymanthian boar itself was completely tired out. Hercules captured it and showed it to King Eurystheus. For the fifth labor, Heracles was tasked with cleaning the Augean stables. As you can imagine, these stables were filthy and hadn't been cleaned in years. Heracles needed to clean out these stables within a single day for the labor to be considered done. Heracles used both his intelligence and strength and diverted the rivers Alpheus and Peneus to flow right through the stables and wash away all that accumulated filth in a very efficient manner. For labor number 6, Heracles needed to deal with the Stymphalian birds, birds with metallic wings and claws that were threatening a lake near Stymphalian in Arcadia. These birds were just menacing to the region and terrorizing people. With the help of Athena, the goddess of wisdom, who gave Heracles some castanets, Heracles was able to frighten the birds and then slowly but surely shoot them down with his bow and arrow. Along with his strength and wits, Heracles is a good shot. For his 7th labor, Heracles needed to capture and bring back the Cretan bull. The bull itself was a majestic bull who was sent to King Minos by Poseidon. At the time, the bull became wild and savage, causing chaos in the island of Crete, roaming the wilderness. Heracles successfully captured the Cretan bull without harming it. Eventually, the bull itself was released into the wild in the Athenian plain. Now, for the 8th labor, Heracles was charged with stealing the mares of Diomedes. These mares were particularly terrifying. King Diomedes had been giving these mares a diet of human flesh, making them wild and savage. However, once Heracles beat up Diomedes and fed him to his own mares, the mares themselves calmed down and Heracles was able to successfully bring them back to King Eurystheus. The first 8 labors of Heracles dealt in some way or form with nature or animals. The 9th labor, however, he had to retrieve the girdle of Queen Hippolyta of the Amazons. This one is one of the sadder labors of Heracles, since in the beginning, when he spoke to Queen Hippolyta, they actually agreed that he could just take the girdle she had. However, the gods had to interfere. Hera, queen of the gods, and Ares went down and caused confusion on purpose. Ares went down as a boar and started attacking. This led the Amazons to start reacting and attacking as well. Heracles, believing that Queen Hippolyta meant to betray him, killed her in the process. In the end, Heracles was able to retrieve the girdle, but at what cost? The 10th labor of Heracles was obtaining the cattle of the Geryon, who was a giant and was described as having 1 body and 3 heads, 1 head and 3 bodies, or 1 body, 3 sets of legs, 3 sets of arms, and 3 heads. Make of that what you will. Upon arriving at the island of Erythea, Heracles was confronted by the 2-headed dog, Orthrus, and the herdsmen of Geryon's cattle. He made made quick work of them, sure, but then he had to face the Geryon himself. Heracles defeated the Geryon either by shooting a very strong bow directly at the forehead, or by being able to shoot a bow right through all 3 hearts of the Geryon. He succeeded in the labor, but then had to cross a desert. At the end, he tried to pay tribute to Hera, who denied this. Once he came back home, King Eurystheus said, "Hey Herc, you have 2 more labors." For his 11th labor, Heracles had to go to the edges of the earth and find the golden apples of the Hesperides, the daughters of the Titan Atlas. After the fall of the Titans, Atlas was forced to carry the world in his shoulders. Hercules reached where he stood because he was the only one who knew where this garden of the Hesperides was. Atlas agreed to help him. In fact, Atlas was so helpful, he agreed to even grab one of the apples for him. Heracles grabbed the edge of the world on his shoulders while Atlas went and retrieved an apple. Atlas did come back. However, Atlas didn't want to do his task anymore. He told Hercules that it was probably better for him to show King Eurystheus the golden apple. Heracles agreed with the Titan and actually asked the Titan to just take the world back for a moment while he fixed up his shoulders to grab the world back. At that moment, Atlas, not very smartly, did take the world back for a brief second, and in that brief second, Heracles grabbed the apple and left the Titan there. The 12th and final labor of Heracles was to capture and bring back the 3-headed dog of the underworld, Ceberus. This was obviously the most dangerous of all the tasks because Heracles had to go into the underworld and face the god of death himself, Hades. However, it was a bit more diplomatic than we usually think. He spoke with Hades and Persephone, queen of the underworld, and basically asked them if he could just take Cerberus to the surface for a little bit to complete his labor, then release the dog and take him back to the underworld. Hades and Persephone agreed, but they simply said that Heracles just needed to subdue the beast. With the help of Hermes and Athena, Heracles was able to subdue the beast. When Hercules came back with the Ceberus, King Eurystheus was so terrified that he basically hid in a jar. This isn't new for King Eurystheus, he's pretty much a coward. Eurystheus then understood the immensity of what Heracles has done and proclaimed the labors fulfilled.